Welcome to Beautiful Thrift Homemaking. I'm Linda, and this year we're reading through a vintage cookbook from 1917. It's called A Thousand Ways to Please a Husband, and it has a storyline in it. So we're following in the first year of the lives of a married couple named Bob and Bettina. And we're in chapter 108 today. We're in the month of January. And we're going to read 2 chapters and then discuss the story and the recipes. Chapter 108, A Luncheon for 3. "Oh, Bettina, what a perfectly charming table," exclaimed Alice, while her guest from New York, in whose honor Bettina was giving the little luncheon, declared that she had never seen a prettier sight. "But it's your very own Christmas gift to me that makes it so," declared Bettina, with flushed cheeks. For Alice's deft fingers had fashioned the rose nut cups, now now holding candied orange peel, and the rosebuds in the sunset shades in the center of the table. "They are almost more real than real ones. I can scarcely believe that they are made of crepe paper." The square luncheon cloth on the round table was linen, decorated with a cross-stitch design in the same sunset shades, so that the table was all in pink and white. A French basket enameled in ivory held the rosebuds, and another Christmas gift to Bettina was the flat ivory basket filled with light rolls. The luncheon napkins matched the luncheon cloth, as the guests noted, "and the menu matches everything else," exclaimed Alice. "I'm glad you like it," said Bettina. "I have eaten chicken a la king often at hotels and restaurants, but until recently it never occurred to me to make it myself, and it isn't difficult to make either." "You must give me the recipe," said Alice. For luncheon, Bettina served chicken a la king, toast, light rolls and butter, Bettina salad, salad dressing, cheese wafers, strawberry sherbet, hickory nut cake, coffee, candied orange peel. And in this chapter, we have Bettina's recipes for the chicken a la king for 3 portions, Bettina's salad, and the hickory nut cake, plus a confectioner's icing for it. All right, so let's read chapter 109 before we look into those recipes more deeply. Chapter 109, The Dixons Come to Dinner. "Shall I open this jar of grapefruit marmalade?" asked Charlotte, who was helping Bettina to prepare dinner. "Yes, Charlotte, if you will." "How nice it is, Bettina. How long do you cook it before you add the sugar?" "Well, that depends altogether on the fruit. Sometimes the rind is so much tougher than at other times. You cook it until it's very tender, then add the sugar and cook until it gels." "There's another thing I'd like to ask you, Bettina. How on earth do you cut the fruit in thin slices? Isn't it very difficult to do?" "Not with a sharp knife. I place the fruit on a hardwood board, and then if my knife is as sharp as it might be, it isn't at all difficult to cut it thin." "Well, perhaps I haven't had a sharp enough knife. Oh, Bettina, what delicious looking cake. Is it fruit cake?" "It's called date loaf cake. It has nuts in it too, but no butter. I always bake it in a loaf cake pan prepared with waxed paper. Bob is very fond of it. I think it's very good served with afternoon tea." "I should think it might be. Tonight, though, I'm serving just sliced oranges with it. That will be a delicious dessert, I think. Listen, is that Bob and Frank coming in?" For dinner that night, they had roast beef, browned potatoes, gravy, Bettina's jelly pickle, bread, grapefruit marmalade, date loaf cake, sliced oranges, and coffee. And we have the recipes for Bettina's jelly pickle, and her grapefruit marmalade. All right, so join me in just a second. We'll go over those recipes in depth. Thank you. Okay, let's discuss chapters 108 and 109 to conclude the month of January. The luncheon for three is Bettina and her friend Alice, and Alice's guest from New York. And they're having kind of a white and pink and sunset shades color theme going on here for the luncheon. And that is expressed in the table decorations as well as in the menu, the food choices. So on the table, we have little nut cups that are rose colored, and we have the crepe paper rose buds, and then of course the linen, napkins, and tablecloth. We notice that the napkins are cross-stitched, or is it the tablecloth? The cross-stitch design was on the luncheon cloth on the round table of linen in the same sunset, oh boy, the same sunset shades. Say that 3 times fast, right? Okay, so that is fun, and the menu reflects those colors with the cherries and pineapple in the salad. So there's some red and yellow in the salad, and then the strawberry sherbet is pink, and the candied orange peel is orange. So that's quite fun there. And then the recipes in this chapter, the chicken a la king, apparently something served often at hotels for their luncheons. For 3 portions, you would use 2/3 a cup of cold cooked diced chicken, 3 tablespoons of butter, 1 tablespoon green pepper cut fine, 1 tablespoon pimento cut fine, 1/8 a teaspoon of celery salt, 2 tablespoons flour, 1½ cups milk, 1/4 teaspoon salt, 1 egg yolk beaten, 3 slices of toast. So this is kind of like our creamed tuna on toast. So you're going to melt the butter, add the green pepper, and cook slowly for 2 minutes, and then add the flour, the 2 tablespoons of flour. You're going to mix well and add the milk slowly. So you're making a cream sauce, a white sauce. And the milk again is 1½ cups. So you're going to slowly add that in, and you cook until creamy. You're going to then add the celery salt and the salt. And when it's very hot, you're going to add in the beaten egg yolk. Going to mix well and then add the chicken and pimento. Then you're going to reheat it. You're going to serve it very hot on hot toast. Do not cook the sauce any longer than absolutely necessary after the egg yolk is added, is Bettina's tip. Then for her sunset colored salad, she has 3 slices of pineapple, 3 halves of pears, 6 marshmallows, 3 maraschino cherries, 6 halves of nut meats, so those could be pecans or walnuts, for example, 3 tablespoons of salad dressing, 3 tablespoons of whipped cream, 3 pieces of lettuce. And this again is for 3 portions because we have Bettina, Alice, and their guest for this luncheon. Wash the lettuce and arrange on salad plates. So those lettuce leaves are just going to hold this salad. Lay a slice of pineapple on the lettuce and half a pear, the hollow side up on the pineapple. Fill the cavity of the pear with salad dressing and place 1 tablespoon of whipped cream on top of the salad dressing. Arrange 2 nut halves, 2 marshmallows, and 1 cherry attractively on each portion. Serve very cold. So we have something that needs to be served hot, and we have something that needs to be served very cold next to it. And then for dessert, we have that hickory nut cake with a confectioner's icing. So to make a hickory nut cake, you're going to use 1/2 cup of butter, 1½ cups sugar, 2 eggs, 1/2 cup of chopped hickory nut meats, 4 teaspoons baking powder, 2 cups of flour, 3/4 a cup of milk, and 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and 1/2 teaspoon of lemon extract. And I've noted before that several of the recipes include both vanilla extract and lemon extract together. So how to put this together? You cream the butter, add the sugar, and mix well. Add the egg yolks, the nut meats, and the flour and baking powder sifted together. Then add the milk, vanilla, and lemon extract. Beat vigorously for 2 minutes. Add the whites stiffly beaten. Mix thoroughly and pour into 2 layer cake pans prepared with buttered paper. Bake 25 minutes in a moderate oven, and then ice with confectioner's icing, which is made with 2 tablespoons of cream, 1/2 a teaspoon lemon extract, 1/2 teaspoon vanilla extract, 1 cup of powdered sugar. Mix the cream and extracts. Gradually add the powdered sugar sifted through a strainer. Add enough sugar to form a creamy icing which will easily spread upon the cake. More than a cup of sugar may be needed. All right. So that's a fun and satisfying luncheon for 3. Now in chapter 109, we have the Dixons coming to dinner. The Dixons, remember, are Charlotte and her husband. And Charlotte and Frank are a little bit older than Bob and Bettina. And Charlotte is new to homemaking, though. Even though she's older than Bettina, she has much less experience with it because she had grown up in a hotel, as was the custom at the time for some people. So the grapefruit marmalade is mentioned here, and about keeping your knives sharp. And also we have dates appearing in yet another recipe. These recipes are Bettina's jelly pickle. Now, how is that made? 2 teaspoons of granulated gelatin. That's a powder that you get. 4 tablespoons cold water. 3/4 a cup vinegar from a jar of sweet pickles. 2 tablespoons of sweet pickles chopped fine. 1 tablespoon olives chopped fine. 1 tablespoon spiced peach chopped fine. 1 tablespoon pickled melon rind. Soak the gelatin in cold water for 10 minutes. Heat the vinegar and when very hot, pour into the gelatin mixture. Stir until dissolved. When partially congealed, so that the fruit will not stay on the top, add the pickles, olives, peaches, and rind. Pour into a well-moistened layer mold or 4 small ones. Set in a cold place 1 hour and then unmold for serving. All right, so I've never heard of jelly pickle before. Or maybe it's like pickled things jelly. Jello. pickled things jello. Grapefruit marmalade. It says for 1.5 pints, 6 grapefruit, 4 lemons, 1 orange, 1 pound sugar for each pound of fruit, 6 cups cold water for each pound of fruit. And now we're in the winter season here in the Western Hemisphere and the Northern Hemisphere, I guess. Did I say that right? Anyway, we're in the winter in California, and we do have some oranges growing. In our yard, we have a blood orange tree, and it is time for picking the oranges. So something made with citrus this time of year is a good choice. So for the grapefruit marmalade, then you're going to wash those fruits very carefully and cut up each into quarters. Slice the quarters through the rind and pulp. Making thin slices. Weigh the fruit, and for each pound allow 6 cups of cold water. Allow to stand with the water on the fruit for 24 hours. So this is a recipe you have to plan ahead. If you know that you have to let something wait for 24 hours as the first step, then you're going to have to plan ahead for this one. Let all boil gently until the rind is very tender. No particular test can be given for this, as some fruit is much tougher than others. Set aside for 4 hours. Drain off the liquid. Weigh the fruit mixture, and for each pound allow a pound of sugar. Let cook slowly until the mixture thickens or jellies when tried on a dish. Be careful not to get the mixture too thick, as it will thicken some more upon cooling. And I was going to let you see some of our blood oranges because they are so lovely. So you can see how very red they are and how the juice has stained the rind there. It's sort of a raspberry color. and they're just beautiful. So these are some of our sliced blood oranges. They're the Moro, M-O-R-O variety of blood orange. And again, it's high season right now for those here in Northern California. All right. So talk about slow living. Some of you have heard of that term. Slow living is when you take your time and do things that are real. And I see that making this grapefruit marmalade would be one of those slow living processes, because you do have to plan ahead and take your time. For the first step, you wait 24 hours, and then after the next step, you're going to wait 4 hours, and then you're going to proceed and cook it slowly. You're going to be stirring it and checking it, and then you're going to have to let it cool, right? So and that's going to make 1.5 pints. So it's going to be meant to be used right away. This is not a canning recipe for long-term storage. And then you could serve it beside the date loaf cake, which would be very interesting, the combination of flavors. For 12 pieces of date loaf cake, you'll use 1 cup flour, 2 teaspoons baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon salt, 1 cup sugar, 2 eggs, 1 teaspoon vanilla, 1 cup of dates cut fine, and that is a lot of dates, 1 cup cut fine, 1/2 cup nut meats cut fine. Again, you could probably use pecans or walnuts for those nuts in there. Mix the flour, baking powder, salt, sugar thoroughly. Add the dates, nut meats, and vanilla. Mix thoroughly. Add the egg yolks and mix well. Beat the egg whites until very stiff. Cut and fold these into the mixture. Pour into a loaf cake pan prepared with waxed paper. Bake in a slow oven for 50 minutes. 50. Okay, so that's that date loaf cake that is going to be served with sliced oranges and coffee. And then I look at the menu and see that the grapefruit marmalade was actually served with the bread, probably, to go with the roast beef, the browned potatoes with gravy, and the jelly pickle. So there we have it for chapter 109. And we will move on in my next episode to the month of February, which always starts with a very short little poem. And then we'll have a couple of chapters, and there'll be some things having to do with hearts and Valentines for February. So stay tuned, and please like and subscribe, pass this along, share it to somebody that you know who likes vintage recipes and homemaking and slow living. All right, until next time, God bless your home.